everyone. Welcome to the Newsmakers podcast and videocast. Today we're discussing how to get homeowners interested in high-efficiency products. To do that, we're bringing in Joe Parsons with Climate Master. Thanks for joining us today, Joe.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I guess just to kind of start off with, what type of homeowners are most interested in high-efficiency HVAC equipment?
That's a really good question. And it really comes down to the strategy of selling higher efficiency equipment to customers. You really need to understand the customer before you begin that sales pitch. You really need to engage them in conversation, understand their needs. And by doing that, I think that opens up the door to introduce a wide variety of products. I always say start out with your most efficient product, and always provide a financing option for that as well, so that they can understand what their overall costs will be.
Is it the old kind of good, better, best, or is that maybe a little bit antiquated and you should throw out your top of the line first and then kind of ratchet back from that?
Yeah, I still see that. I still see, and there's trained sales individuals out there that have, that live by good, better, best. I think that's always out there. We always need to understand that we need to have those options and offer those various options. But, as someone who advises, our customers who are distributors who sell our product to contractors, my advice is always to start out with, again, understanding your customer and letting them know that these options are out there. There are always other options that they could drop back to, certainly. But yeah, that's just been my experience that that's the better way to go. So it's not offering, it's really staging. You offer good, better, and best and start out at the bottom and work to the top, or do you, again, target in on where they are initially in their lives, in their, with their situation, their financial situation, what they're willing to do and what they can do. So, yeah, again, I think it all comes back to that initial piece, that initial conversation.
Obviously, you work for Climate Master, so you're, very involved in the geothermal industry. I'm talking residential now. So when a contractor goes and they're going to, pitch geothermal, is it something that they should pitch alone geothermal, or is something say, hey, we can do geothermal, or we can also do, maybe a regular, air conditioner and gas furnace? Does that muddy the waters, or is that options that a contractor should offer?
From my point of view, it's, if someone is interested in the geothermal heat pump, we have found that typically they have done their research well in advance. Almost 85% of the time, they've made a decision to go geothermal before they even begin to select the contractor. So I think you need to go into the sale with a mindset. There's already been some research done, and your product has probably been selected because, one, there's been conversations with others who have a similar product, or two, they've gone to the manufacturer's website, or three, you've established a reputation in your market as being the geothermal expert. So, all of these things play into it. Obviously, there's some customers, there's some contractors out there that fall back on that. But when we do sales training, it's around selling the product that customer's interested in and not reverting back to an alternative.
And then I'm assuming with, geothermal and high efficiency, are we kind of targeting people a little bit farther along in their economic journey, people that are a little more well off and can do that upfront cost, or is that maybe an antiquated notion as well?
I think it's becoming antiquated simply right now with the Inflation Reduction Act and, the tax credit extensions, the 30% for residential, and then the other incentives that are being pushed out through the states that allow weatherization, to happen on residential homes, so that you're reducing the overall load on the home. You're reducing the size of the geothermal system that would be required. So you're doing things to reduce that cost on the front end. And with financing options now, you're looking at the efficiency of the system over time. You're looking at the reduced maintenance of the system over time. that in itself, allows that customer to at least make that decision, understand that my efficiency savings as compared to the alternative system, the system I have in my home now, or the system that the builder may have been planning to put in my, new construction home, doing a comparison there, using the tools that the manufacturers provide to do that comparison, to understand what to anticipate as operating cost and what to anticipate as the cost of the alternative system. It's all about eliminating that delta between the cost of the two systems and using that to determine simple payback on the system.
Yeah, then what's the sweet spot on the return on investment, the payback on a residential? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Well, what is there a magic number that makes folks pull the trigger?
5 years seems to be that trigger point.
Okay.
It seems to be when we can, again, go through our GeoDesigner software, for example, and tell that customer, okay, this is when you would have, you're going to be your overall lifetime savings. That's an important piece of this, to help them also envision what they could do with those additional dollars that they're saving, and making that determination. Do I want to spend, some of my own savings, or do I want to finance the entire installation? It's just walking them through that process and speaking to them with authority, because one, understanding your product, which product is best for them in their particular application. We have, we're talking about high efficiency products, but when you're looking at geothermal systems, everything that we sell is really super efficient. We're looking at systems that the least expensive and the lowest efficiency levels are in excess of, some of the upper end air source products and obviously fossil fuel products. So it's just helping them walk through that decision. Do I want a system that has a 27 EER or a 30 EER, or going all the way to, something that's, north of 40 EER and also has the capability of providing hot water. So it just becomes a decision-making process. And also, what their situation is. How long are they planning to be in that home? We're seeing a lot of installations now, people making going to their kind of lifetime home, where they're planning to be for 10 to 15 to the next 20 years. And, to have a system that is capable of lasting, 20 to 25 years, based on information from, published by ASHRAE, I think 22.5 years or so, average life of a system. And we certainly see systems that are being replaced that have been installed, even as much as 30 years ago. And with geothermal, looking at that, the long-term piece of that, the system is, you're making that investment in the ground loop, but, you can certainly install additional systems on that existing loop, sometime down the road. And looking at that, looking at the accumulated savings over time is an important piece of this.
So obviously, I get someone's going to be in their house 15, 20 years. It certainly makes sense, because if you hit that 5 year, they're making money the last 10 or 15. But some people obviously move, and it's a transient culture. When contractors are selling this, does resale value of the home enter into the equation at all? Is that something they should be talking about? Because I assume if you put it on the market and you show, hey, you're saving this much a month on energy, that could be attractive to a buyer. Absolutely.
And that's, one thing that we teach when we're talking to new contractors, to look at every piece of this, because yes, when you're being evaluated for, the home mortgage, you're looking at the overall cost of operating that system. So if you have a history over 5 years of, electric bills that are, $65 a month, for example, in some locations, that goes a long way. So it means that you can, afford more home, basically, based on that operating cost. And we're hoping too that, when we have conversations with legislators now, it's like, what can we do to establish through the real estate market, an understanding of these benefits, because realtors can also be an important part of, that decision-making process, helping to find a home that has a ground source system, putting that button, that check mark, in a MLS listing that, I know that when I moved from Florida to Oklahoma looking for a house with geothermal, and, unless your realtor knew each individual market, it was really difficult to say, I want to check that and see all the homes in the area that have geothermal systems. So,
right.
Looking to help people understand the overall benefits of the system.
Right. So you touched on it at the beginning of the conversation, but how much is the Inflation Reduction Act a game changer for high efficiency HVAC equipment? How much do you think that's going to move the needle for the industry?
I think obviously we've had tax credits before. We've had tax credits a long time. Tax credits tend to ebb and flow, basically. We're working, here's a 3-year window with the tax credit. So that has caused some contractors to even shy away from the system that they felt like they needed a tax credit to be able to promote and sell. With this 10-year window of opportunity we have through IRA, and with the increasing efficiency of systems and the awareness now created around decarbonization requirements, in some states taking the lead and, drawing a line in the sand and saying we're going to be to net zero by a certain, date, be it 2030, be it 2045, 2050, depending on the state. It's, I think all of these things come together to create this awareness around there are technologies out there. There's been a great push around, high efficiency air source systems, but, we're also seeing in, some, especially in northern states, some stresses on the electrical grid now, because you're going from fossil fuels to, electric appliances to provide heating and cooling. And while those systems can provide, heat almost down to any temperature, the efficiency rating at which they produce that heat is, substantially less than what you would see with a ground source system, because we're dealing with ambient temperatures, underground temperatures that are relatively stable. So, to be able to tell that story as well, and just to let the customer make the decision, as to, one, geothermal, and maybe looking at other options as well. So I think that, the tax credits, it's not just the fact that it's back to 30%, it's the fact that there's that longer runway, and there's a promotion now to bring, let me back up there, a situation where we can educate contractors so that they see the benefits of getting into this business, because there is that long runway now, to see that opportunity and to be able to talk about what's happening in the country with, from a standpoint of actual awareness around decarb efforts. And we're talking primarily residential now, but it's still, that's a major component of this. We're seeing a great deal of increase also in interest in installations, on the commercial side as well, simply because we've gone from 10% to 30 to 40 to 50% on tax credits on the commercial side. So that's driving a lot of interest. And plus there are a lot of incentives out there, and really ESG incentives to create those net zero type of installations. Looking at the decarbonization effort is an important piece of that.
Yeah, it's a good point, the 10 years, because I know in the past, sometimes it was year to year, sometimes it was 5 years, but it's for contractors' business model, it's not something where you buy geothermal one day and it's installed the next day. It takes a little legwork, so that is good.
And that's trend. We're seeing that trending now with installation. Contractors and drillers out there, and again, talking about the drilling side of this equation, they're booked out anywhere from 8 to 18 months now. It's almost that same scenario we had with solar initially, where we're really not worrying about the financing piece of it. It's just like, get on the waiting list, for my installation. So we're seeing that happen a lot now. But it's everything has to come together in one package here.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of off subject, but it's just the fact that, from a standpoint of a manufacturer, to be able to ramp up our production to meet the demand, which is there, from a drilling standpoint, to understand the opportunity to, expand the business from drilling just water wells to geothermal systems. And there are a lot of companies that are doing that right now. And then from a standpoint of HVAC professionals, beginning to understand the benefits of geothermal systems, understanding what they are, how to sell them, and again, how to communicate that information to the homeowner it's key to success.
All right, Joe, really appreciate the time and kind of educating us on this topic. Just one final question. I was curious, what's going on over there at Climate Master? I know you guys just had a nice anniversary a few weeks back, but what's new at Climate Master, and how can people find out more information about the company?
Yeah, so to find out more about the company, just go to our website, basically, climatemaster.com. You'll find all about products there, new products. This industry is going through some changes now with new refrigerants coming down the pike, and manufacturing product with 410A refrigerant and making a change to an A2L refrigerant. EPA is going to draw the line in the sand now to say when that's going to happen. So that's been a lot of the focus, but there are a lot of new products and a lot of new ideas in the pipeline. But I think, as with most manufacturers, we've been making those internal changes from the standpoint of within the factory to be able to produce, systems in parallel using one refrigerant or, two refrigerants, and then making that transition. So, it's exciting times from the standpoint of ramping up production and, looking at ways that we can engage in the marketplace to create some awareness and provide the tools that our customers need. It's on the residential side, our residential distributors, the tools that they need to engage with new contractors, to be able to tell the story about, positive applications out there in the marketplace. That's another part of, we didn't touch on, but, being able to look at actual case studies and provide those to potential customers certainly goes a long way. And establishing the contractor as the expert in the marketplace, that makes the sale easy when someone comes to you because you're the expert in that field and they trust you. And that's why we have contractors that built their entire business around selling geothermal systems.
All right, sounds great. Well, again, thanks for the time, Joe. Really appreciate it. You had a lot of good information to share with us.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.